I hope it starts working again.
Where's yours at?
In the back of my car.
Really?
Mm-hmm. That's a distraction.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I just look at yours when I can't see that one.
Okay, it's 5 o'clock. Time to start the November 18th, 2019 board meeting. Commissioner Stewart, read us the invocation and the pledge.
Please stand and join us. Heavenly Father, again, we thank you for your grace and mercy. We just ask that you bless us here tonight. We count it a blessing, Lord, that we're able to serve the citizens of our great county. Lord, we just ask that you give us wisdom tonight as we deal with the business of the county. Lord, just bless our great county and bless our great country. We ask these things in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone. There'll be numerous opportunities to speak to the board tonight. You can speak as citizens to be heard in the beginning or the end, or at any item as it comes forward. If you'd like to speak, make sure you turn in the card to Miss Jessica, and you'll be given an opportunity. Nina.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second. We have one add-on item, Mr. Chairman. That's U.S. Treasury Amendment number 1 for the Restore Act retrofit train 1 at Otter Creek Wastewater Treatment Plant. That'll be under general business.
Okay. As amended. Randy?
Yes, as amended.
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Citizens to be heard. Cheryl Ola, tax collector.
Thank you. I'm Cheryl Ola. I'm your Wakulla County tax collector. And this might not be the place to do all this, but last minute I want to be able to go ahead and tell you the increases that I'm going to be able to help the county with through our office. I have approximately $25,000 in our driver's license reserve that I can now release to you. So as I told Mr. Edwards, he thought I should go ahead and give it to you right away, but our auditor comes on December the 9th, and I'm sure he'll approve all of that. So I'll also be giving you back $15,000 on concealed weapons. This is the first disbursement on that. We had to hold it so long until they made sure everything was fine. We have no expenses or anything in it, nor the driver's license. This is just an excess that we had to keep in case we wanted to add another unit, but we have 4, and I think we're fine. So that's $25,000 and $15,000 I'll be delivering here shortly. And then some updates on next year. I've been giving you about $4,500 a month on driver's license. No, I'm sorry, I've been giving you about $3,000 a month. Yeah, $3,000 a month, and I'm going to increase that to $45,000. We're doing very well on that. And calculating the concealed weapons, which you haven't been getting because we had to hold it for a time period, now I'll be able to give you at least $500 a month on that. So that's about a total of $5,000 a month that you're going to receive out of our office beyond any other things. So I hope that's pleasing to you. Also, I'm going to turn back $9,000 of my budget. I should have already announced that to you, which I'd like to add to my reserve. I was able to save that much, and so I'm going to be issuing a check for that. I'm sure Greg's going to be jumping up and down because I haven't done it already, but it's for the same cause and nothing you're going to be spending anyhow, so it's going to reserve, but I'll be doing that shortly. I also wanted to announce that we've added an ATM machine in our lobby thanks to my assistant Lisa Cray. She finally found somebody after we've talked to every bank in the town, but we do have an ATM machine and it is being used unbelievably. We probably had 80 transactions in 2 weeks, which at this point we're getting 50 cents a transaction. That doesn't sound like a lot of money, but when you start doing it quarterly, I think that was $40 for 2 weeks. And so they've said now they will increase it. They didn't think they would get that much business. So they have agreed to pay us more. So if they'll double that, that's not bad business for us. So and the customers seem to really like it. So I'm happy about that. So Not a whole lot. Maybe it seems like little pennies and all, but I'm very proud that we haven't cost you anything and all of our services are going good and we're going to be able to add some extra money to you.
Good job, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's always nice to hear good news.
Yes. Good timing, too,
Thank you,
Cheryl.
Cheryl.
We have no awards and presentations. We move on to consent.
Move consent?
Second. Any citizens? So, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Move on to general business.
Yes, item number 6, Mr. Chairman, this agenda item requests board approval to purchase 72 self-contained breathing apparatus and approve the lease agreement with Leasing 2 Incorporated.
Motion to approve?
Just one proposed amendment. If you could also add on that you're going to declare the 57 existing units as surplus and authorize their disposal.
Modify my motion.
Second as well.
All right?
So that will not have to come back to us then for disposal. That'll be handled
That's
here.
right, that'll be handled.
No citizens? All right. I just am amazed by the price of these things.
They're not cheap, that's for
They're
sure.
not cheap.
We researched it and we whittled it down considerably.
You know, I did have one question I didn't think
Sure.
about earlier today. I think the agenda item said that there's a 15-year warranty. Is that prorated, or is that a full warranty, or how does that?
As the way I understand it, that's a full warranty at 15 years. I think these things are certified to 20 years. About 20 years, they're certified to 20 years, but they'll warranty them for 15.
So we're going to try to squeeze it out the full 15. 'Cause I think
our intent is to squeeze it out until they become no longer certified.
Good deal. Thank you.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
The next agenda item under general business, this agenda item requests board approval of the U.S. Treasury amended award number 1, increasing the funding for the Restore Act retrofit of the existing wastewater treatment plant train number 1 at Otter Creek Wastewater Treatment Facility from $1.6 million to $2.8 million.
So move.
Second.
This is BP money, basically.
This is BP money, and what this does, this upgrades the old train to be able to accommodate or to be able to give us AWT water.
Advanced wastewater treatment.
Right.
So it's making the two trains the same.
Which makes the two trains the same. That's right.
And is this still going to go to the golf course for
Yep.
disposal?
Yep. Yes, sir.
Okay, any citizens? All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Planning and zoning.
Nope.
No,
Public hearing.
Public hearing.
One,
You're right.
this item is to request board approval to conduct a public hearing and adopt the proposed resolution electing to use the uniform method of collecting non-ad valorem special assessments on next year's tax
So
bill.
move.
Second.
Any citizens? Any questions by the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Now planning and zoning.
This is a request for the board's approval to adopt a comprehensive plan, a future land use map amendment, CP 1903. This is a 5-acre parcel located west of the Wakulla Trace Apartments on Michael Drive. This request is to change the future land use designation from public facilities to urban core. The current zoning for the property is C4 downtown commercial. However, if this application is approved, the next item on your agenda is to facilitate a change of zoning application requesting high density residential.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Wade Brown, agent, do you want to say anything?
Available for questions.
Okay. Any discussion? This is what we want in our town plan, is higher density development, so. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
Sorry, Heather.
The next item is a quasi-judicial item. This is the accompanying rezoning that Summer just referred to. In accordance with Section 24.01 of the code, each commission member needs to disclose any ex parte communications you may have received regarding this application.
None.
I've talked to R.H. Carter before.
None.
None.
If there's anyone here who's going to provide any information on this application, please stand up to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
This request for change of zoning R19-13 is again the same 5 acres west of the existing Wakulla Trace Apartments. The proposed zoning is HDR, High Density Residential, which is designed to be located within the Crawfordville Town Plan. The board just approved the Urban Core Land Use designation. Currently, this property is undeveloped, but a significant portion of it is encumbered by an existing transmission easement, a utility transmission easement, excuse me. The proposed zoning is consistent with the newly approved future land use designation and consistent with the comp plan, land development code, and Crawfordville Town Plan.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have 2 citizens. Oh, Wade, just for quick. R.H. Carter. Okay,
Summer, what's the maximum number of units that could go there?
50.
50.
I would like to make a couple of comments. I'm R.H. Carter with the senior citizens and been around here a year or two, and I noticed that we looked at this as building earlier, and I hold myself responsible for not being aware of the zoning, because our senior apartments is on land that was on C4, and I saw C4 over there, and I thought all is well. Turns out I'm not familiar with the town plan, and that had changed as far as what C4 meant. And so we have gone back and to get that redesigned or reclassified, so we could put senior living facilities in the change. It says it's expressed to be strictly for senior citizens living. At the current time, we have 34 apartments over there beside the senior center. They have 81 on their waiting list. So the need for seniors living is great in Wakulla County, and this is just a small step in that direction, and we appreciate your approval.
thank you, Mr. Carter. So, any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
The next item is an application for change of zoning R1912 from Danzy Developers LLC. This is a quasi-judicial item. In accordance with the code, please disclose any ex parte communications you may have received.
None.
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 If there's anyone here who's going to provide any information on this application, please stand up to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Yes, this rezoning request is for a half-acre lot located in the Fairwind subdivision on Weeping Willow Court, immediately east of the Wakulla County Sheriff's Office. This request for rezoning is from CO Commercial Office to RSU2, which is semi-urban single-family residential.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any citizens? So, I don't have any problems with this. This is inside
It's
the
not a
town.
viable CO spot anyway.
Yeah, but they're gonna have to come back for the other 3. I mean, because there's 4 of them over there. Okay.
I do have one question that just occurred to me. Since it's CO now, and there's going to be residential next on each side of it, will that trigger additional requirements for those applicants that don't exist now?
If they develop the lots under the commercial office, then they would have increased setbacks as well as landscape buffering requirements adjacent to the residential properties.
Okay.
I don't see that ever happening though.
Yeah, probably not.
Once this one, yeah, this was the one
They'll probably all follow
that
suit.
viable business.
Yeah.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
The next one, Mr. Chairman, is an application for a change of zoning. It's R 1914. The applicants are Sylvia Hicks and Nancy Russell. Please disclose any ex parte communications you may have received.
Talk to Cheryl.
Talk to Cheryl.
Talk to Cheryl.
Talk to Cheryl. Me too.
If there's anyone here who's going to provide any information on this application, please stand up to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
This rezoning request is for a 5-acre parcel located on the south side of Wakulla Aaron Road, just west of the Magnolia Ridge North subdivision. The request is to rezone from agriculture to RR1 semi-rural residential. Currently, the property contains one mobile home. If this zoning request is approved, it would allow for up to one home per acre. This could be a site-built home or a mobile home with a maximum potential density of 5 units. The property is located in FEMA Flood Zone X, and there is no central sewer or water service available to the site, so it would be served by a private well and on-site septic systems. The proposed zoning is consistent with the Comprehensive Plan and Land Development Code. Notices of this public hearing were mailed by the applicant to all property owners within a 500-foot radius, and the advertisement appeared in the Wakulla News on October 31st of this year. Staff is recommending option 1 for approval, and we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. I have 3 citizens. Sylvia Hicks.
My name is Sylvia Hicks, and I live at 353 Wakulla Aaron Road. I bought the 5 acres. I went to zoning before I bought the 5 acres. No issues were brought up, said most likely would not be. It is for family only, no rentals, nothing else. Family homes only. Site-built or mobile homes, 1 per acre. There's 1 home in it now that I'm staying at. It would be for my kids and grandkids only. No other reason.
This is in the springs protection area. We'll have to take enhanced septic tanks.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And I'm in the lowest zone, right? The lowest zone?
You're in the X zone, yes, ma'am.
X zone, which is the lowest one they have, right?
No flood insurance.
No flood insurance, nothing. So no floods, nothing.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Clint Boutwell.
Good evening. I live at 295 Wakulla Aaron Road, and my understanding when I looked at the advertisement was that this property would be rezoned for 2 units per 5 acres, and it would be utilized by 2 elderly sisters. That was coming to me secondhand from my neighbors. And so I did not show up at the Planning and Zoning Commission to protest the rezoning from 1 unit per 5 acres to 5 units per 5 acres. Please note that this property accesses onto a 1-lane dirt road that is unsafe for operation as it is. I've stood right here and asked this commission to address those unsafe conditions before. Since then, we've had numerous accidents, and I've had numerous encounters with people who essentially didn't want to yield one way or the other. I'm still waiting on a definition of who has the right of way on a 1-lane road wherein traffic is allowed to flow both ways. I'm very, very concerned that the precedent set by this rezoning will not stop at allowing a 500% increase in the density
of this property, but that the property owner immediately adjacent, who owns 11 more acres of undeveloped land, will then determine that they want to put 1 acre per acre, one building per acre on their 11 acres. And now we will go from the maximum of 3 units for that 17 acres to over 17 units. Again, all of it accessing onto a 1-lane road that flows both ways, that is unsuitable for the traffic that it services now, let alone an additional 16, 17 potential units, in this case at least 5. Who knows how many vehicles each one of those additional units will service. I'm also concerned about the impact on my drinking water. There is no provision for water or sewer on this road. Heck, it's not even wide enough for 2 vehicles to pass. So if you put an additional 4 septic tanks and then
You'll need to wrap it
potentially
up, Mr. Bell.
another 10 down the road, you're putting me at a disadvantage and at an undue hardship.
Thank you. And Cheryl Ola.
We'll share.
You got it. I'm Cheryl Ola. I reside at 286 Aaron Road. My property is on 2 sides of this property. First of all, I want to make it known I have nothing against the landowners. This has nothing to do with that. I wish them well. I think anybody who owns a piece of land should be able to do what you want to do. My problem is I got my notice on the 18th or 19th of October. So I went to planning and zoning the next week, and I specifically asked, what does this mean? Oh, they're going to put 1 mobile home on there for the sister. 2 sisters bought it. Well, I understood that, and I knew that, so I was fine with that. Something kept nagging at me, so I went over to visit the owner and told her I understood they were having planning and zoning that night. And she says, well, and you're going to put 1 for your sister. She said, no, we're putting 5 trailers. I'm like, what? 5 trailers on this little piece of land that's 5 acres? So anyhow, I called Heather right away, and she told me, yes, it means 1 per acre. So, and then she informed me too. I mean, we're like, this is just before 6 o'clock or 6:30, I think it was. And she said, you coming and complaining as a landowner is not going to change our mind. You know, you have to have reason. Well, at that point, I wasn't prepared. All along, I thought it was 1 acre. Well, anyhow, November the 12th, they had the planning meeting, and they passed that. So I worked on the land plat I got, which you'll look at page 2, I think I gave you. And if you'll notice, the roadway is 1 acre of land. So I've sat there and calculated about the setbacks, and the best I can see, they're going to have 3.82 acres to do something. And that's not saying anything about setbacks with wells and the septic tanks. I mean, you know, I don't understand how you can put 5 acres on 5 trailers on 3. Like you said, this is in a protected area, so you're going to have the enhanced septic tanks. And again, as it said, the road is terrible. I don't know how they're going to get them in there. I don't know how they're going to make that turn, because nobody's going, you know, their properties are fenced. But anyhow, I was told that I need reasonable doubt why it shouldn't go on there. So my proof is this little map I've drawn out for you, showing you that I can't, if it's 1 per acre and you don't have but 3.8, I mean, I wouldn't mind 3 in there, but 5 or so, that's really pushing it as far as room between homes. I know it's family, but whatever. And the mobile home that's on there, I have yet to figure out why, was condemned in 2012. The man that bought the property found out it was condemned and he couldn't use it, so he sold it to the people that had it and sold it to them. Somehow they managed to get the lights on and it's still going, but if you'll go back to 2012, you'll find out that mobile home is condemned. So if these mobile homes are not in the homeowner's name, they're not going to add any taxable value to this land. That means if they put a mobile home on there and it's in the daughter's name, sister's name, well, the sisters would be okay because they can do it. Anybody else's name, they're going to have to put a tag on that, which at the most would give you $4.50 if they buy the tag every year. So you'll get no taxable value for the property that's on there. My main concern, like I said, is the septic, water, traffic, and the taxable value not being there to allow them on there. And I just wish you would send it back maybe and redo it on the planning side. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's the last citizens to be heard.
I have a question for Summer.
Yes, sir.
Does, using the map we were just given by Ms. Ola, do we take into account setbacks to limit the footage that somebody could use? I'm asking this so the public can hear.
No, sir. Setbacks are not taken into consideration when you're calculating overall residential density. We will look at the setbacks during any site plan and permitting stages, but they do not affect the density in any way.
So what would be the total land in the biggest square there if you take out the driveway? Is that 5 acres including that driveway?
It is. It is.
Okay. Any idea what that acreage might be in there?
I'm gonna.
18 at the max.
Can't take out the driveway, though.
I understand. But they can't put
That
a mobile home
area
in
is,
the driveway either.
I'm just coming up from the aerial rough measurement, just shy of 5 acres, about 4.4.
Okay. So then they could put 1 per acre would be 4 units.
No.
No,
You can't, you can't
You can't.
extract that driveway area from the flag portion of that lot, or flag pole portion.
I mean, that's the only issue I have is that driveway is not.
that, your residential, when you're calculating density, you're looking at the total lot size. Now, whether they can actually fit 5 in there is a different question, but that's not relevant for tonight because this is a rezoning and you're approving a rezoning that allows that would allow up to, I'm that powerful, that would allow up to 5 dwelling units on this property.
That was her shedding some of her power off.
Better watch
Can
it.
this property be subdivided?
There is a possibility for that, although I will say it is
No
going
water
to be a
and sewer?
very difficult task based on the road paving requirements, minimum widths for right-of-way and infrastructure. So anything above, this is the maximum that could be done, short of going through those processes and providing infrastructure.
And I'm very sympathetic to Cheryl's concern. I love her to death. But I told her I have to follow the same standard I follow for everybody else, no matter how much I like you.
Weird, wasn't it?
We got to look at the rezoning. If they were doing a single-family house on here or even a single mobile home, then I don't think anybody have a problem with it. But this is a very unusual situation because they've admitted they want to put 5 mobile homes on it. Most people wouldn't have said that. They would have just said, I don't know what I'm going to do, and you know what I mean?
I understand.
But I'm just going to follow the same standard I've always followed. It meets the comp plan. It's in the county. It's in the town plan.
Well, at the end of the day, there's still a 75-foot setback between wells and septic tanks. So
Correct.
they may or may not get 5
That's correct.
units
That's
when it's
correct.
all said and done because they're down
Well,
to about 4
they could
usable
do a
acres.
shared well and shared waste treatment plant.
Well, at some point, I don't think, I thought about that, but at some point DEP kicks in when you start putting more than like 2 houses on then it becomes a public water system that kicks into all kind of chlorination stuff.
Right.
And I don't, share in the septic tank, you'd have to have a huge.
Well, that's a
one.
whole separate permitting process, and
that's
they're gonna have to
nothing-
maintain
Nothing
setbacks.
what
and-
I just put blinders on and say, they're asking for RR1. It meets the standard for it. And I mean, I'm very sympathetic to Cheryl, and I told her that, and I hope she didn't hate my guts, but
Summer,
I don't
for,
think she does.
for the benefit of the public, if we did nothing tonight, if we didn't approve this tonight, the future land use is urban fringe. What is the density requirement that's allowed today versus what they're asking us for?
So under the urban fringe land use without sewer and water connection, it allows 1 unit per acre. And if infrastructure was available or brought to the site, it would allow for 2 units per acre.
And what's the nearest location for water and sewer?
I believe Central Water ends in the Magnolia Ridge North subdivision, and I believe sewer is available to the Savannah Forest subdivision to the north of that, on the north side of Wakulla.
That may not be feasible, but if they chose to run the water and sewer line, they could put 10 homes on this parcel under the current future land use.
Under the current future land use, that's correct.
To the issue of the road being narrow, there's not a road in Wakulla County I want to widen and pave more than
I agree.
than that road. And
And
I
we-
think we all agree to that.
We've tried hard
We've
to do that,
tried.
right, David?
Yeah, and we're going to, yes, that's on our list of acquisition, of land acquisitions. We finished up Lonnie Raker, we finished up Council Moore, and it's on our next on our radar screen.
To pay for the right of way and just get it
That's
done.
right. Yeah,
Well, if
that's-
I remember
that's not-
correctly, I think we spent $4,000 for a survey to
Yep.
determine,
Yep.
and we went to the neighbors and asked if they would give it, and it was some of the same neighbors that came and asked us to widen the road, and the neighbors weren't willing to give us the land to widen the road.
That's right. That's the reason it kind of stalled, so we're having to back up again and hit it again.
Okay.
Well, it's going to be on the enhanced septic tanks, and you're going to have trouble getting that many houses around the wells and septic tanks. So
I agree.
I would have to see that. Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Next item is appointment of a member to the
I'll make a motion to approve your appointment, Chuck.
appoint Patrick Hutto to serve on the Capital Careers Regional Board of Directors.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes
Aye.
5-0.
You forgot to ask for citizens.
She's already been beaten, yeah. So, Commissioner Thomas's item?
All right, very good. So, you probably saw an agenda item that Lake County recently approved this, and I've been thinking about it for some time, and when I saw that they brought it forward and kind of made it real easy to bring this forward, I spoke to Fox News tonight. Matter of fact, there's an article out there that they put on, and there's 3 other counties that they referenced, and I know of 7 counties that's proposing this same thing. Basically, what this boils down to is when we're elected, we all swore an oath to support and defend the Constitution. So, in a perfect world, this probably would not be needed. However, there is no rights that are guaranteed to us by our Constitution that are more under attack than our Second Amendment. Every day we hear something. There's currently 20 bills right now in the Florida legislature between the House and the Senate that pertain to gun rights, high-capacity magazine, what they determine to be assault weapons, where you can defend yourself, whether or not elected officials should be able to concealed carry if we're licensed to do so, even in this meeting. That's one of the bills that's in place tonight. I mean, in the legislature this year. So my thinking is, all this does is this reaffirms the oath that we already took. We told everyone that we're going to support and defend the Constitution. We see that there's probably nothing more simply worded than the Second Amendment, shall not be infringed. However, even though it's so simply worded, it's so clear and precise, it's still under attack. Every day we hear people say, well, it doesn't mean that. It means that, well, we support and defend the right to defend yourself, except in these cases, or except if you're in this age group. What we saw the legislature do 2 years ago, where they took adults that are from 18 to 21 years old, and they made them somehow lesser citizens than adults that are over 21 years old. When I was 18 years old, I was on active duty, and I wouldn't be able to legally buy a gun. Let me correct that. I could buy a gun. Well, what the legislature did 2 years ago, they would allow me to buy a gun from any of you guys, or anyone from the audience, but they would not allow me to go down to No Shoe and buy a gun where they're going to do a background check. And so now it would be legal for an 18-year-old to buy it from anyone on the street, as long as it was a legal gun, wasn't stolen. But now we force them to go around a background check. And I think in the interest of doing something, we keep hearing we got to do something. In the interest of doing something, we actually created a loophole for people from 18 to 21 to bypass. I say all of that just to say that we're under a constant attack to erode our constitutional rights. But it's mainly the Second Amendment. Nobody stands up and says, I want to limit your First Amendment rights. I want to eliminate Wakulla news. I want to eliminate churches. No one says that. But our First Amendment rights are always under attack.
Ralph, I'll support this if you make one tweak.
Okay?
Your last whereas.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very reluctant to drag the sheriff into this. If you'll be willing to, the last protect the U.S. Constitution, or we the people of the United States, and leave it at that. I'd take out the last protectors or the county sheriffs.
A second.
I mean, okay. And I watched the 60 Minutes thing last night. It just came on TV. I mean, I haven't watched 60 Minutes in 10 years.
Right.
And I was bored to death. And they happened to be talking about this. And, like you said, if a high-capacity ban happens, I don't want to even there be a perception that we, the board, are telling the sheriff, don't enforce the law that the state passed because we don't like it for whatever reason.
And of
So
course
would you agree?
we don't have the authority.
I know.
And I've got 2 votes, so I'm certainly not going to vote against my own resolution. So I'll take that.
Okay, if you'll take that, then I'm fine with it. Like you said, other than that, it just states facts.
Yes.
And it's not taking a position on anything. It's just
Right.
saying, here's what the Supreme Court has done in the past. It's not saying, here's my opinion. The only thing in there that I thought was subjective was the thing about the county sheriff, and if you'll take that out, I'm fine.
Fine.
It doesn't really mean anything,
I'll
as
take
we
that.
all know, but,
I'll take that.
okay, thank you. So that's my motion.
Okay,
Quincy seconded it.
we have a motion and a second. Eugene Watkins.
Eugene Watkins, Crawfordville, Florida. Glad to be here again. First, I'd like to say I support the Second Amendment. I agree with you there. My only concern is what's the intent and what will be the result of this resolution. And Randy's already answered part of it. I like what you said. Again, I saw 60 Minutes too, and what concerned me...
Everybody saw it,
Yeah.
didn't they?
I didn't see it.
Well, just regardless, the part that concerned me is there were some sheriffs in some counties in the nation that were interpreting their resolution like this to mean that they could not enforce red flag laws, which are the laws that allow the sheriff to, if there's students that are being threatening students at the high school with guns, they can go in there and take their guns. So this is something I'd like for y'all to discuss and make sure, and you started the discussion, Randy. That was probably my biggest concern. One more concern I have too, and Ralph can help answer this. If you all pass this resolution, is it going to require that you take the sign off the front door that doesn't allow guns in here? And just make sure that's true, because before, you'll answer it. You want to go ahead, you can, if you'll save my time there.
If I may. It's a resolution. It has no act of law. It can't override state law. That's a Florida state statute that's quoted there. And as Randy pointed out, we have no authority over the sheriff. This
Okay.
is, in my mind, this is our commitment that we're going to do everything in our legal capacity to stand up and do what we said we're going to do, support and defend the Constitution. If there's something that we don't like, we need to follow that through the legal process.
Okay, so you're basically going to support the Constitution, and you're supporting the fact that at times we're not going to support the amendment too when it comes to like the sign on the door. There's going to be situations where you won't support it. If I understand you
That
right.
gentleman has the authority to enforce that.
Okay, so you're going
We can't tell him to not enforce the laws that the state and the sheriff has ordered him to enforce.
Okay, and I'm behind you on that, so I said my piece, y'all discuss it as you need to.
Now, my personal opinion, I hope this bill passes that allows everyone to carry. I'm a fan of constitutional carry unless you have relinquished your right by virtue of becoming a criminal. And so that would be my preference, but that has nothing to do with this.
Okay. Terry Jo Chapman.
And Mr. Chair, just one thing, I mean, to that comment, I mean, the Second Amendment coexists with gun regulations in every state of this nation. Even rights enshrined in the Bill of Rights are not absolute. They're subject to reasonable regulation. And so I don't think what you're saying and what Commissioner Thomas is promoting here today are at odds.
You can't yell fire in a movie theater. Right.
Exactly.
It's not right, it's free speech.
There's even a provision in the resolution that states that it's subject to state law and the state constitution.
And I didn't see the 60 minutes, but I am familiar a little bit with what is in the Colorado resolutions, which I think were referenced there. And they contain different information. They have specific direction to not appropriate funds for officers to go out and enforce those laws. It's a completely different legal framework between their state government and their local governments there. Here in Florida, any sort of regulations or laws dealing with firearms are preempted to the state.
And people have to remember, too, these sanctuary cities, everybody talks about immigrants, those are incorporated cities. And their police chief is a hired person. Ours is an elected so they have power over their, cities have power over their police chief. We don't have that kind of power of the sheriff. He's an independent branch of government.
Correct.
Mr. Chapman.
Members of the board, my name is Terry Jo Chapman. I'm a proud gun owner. I grew up with guns. My daddy bought me a 16-gauge shotgun when I was 16 years old. When I graduated from boot camp, I had 3 ribbons on my uniform. It was National Defense, Marksman, N16, and a sharpshooter with 45. After I got out of the service, I enjoy hunting. I grew up hunting. I've been a deer hunter. I got a lifetime hunting license in the state of Florida. I am pro hunting, and I need my guns to hunt. But I do not support this resolution. When I moved to Wakulla County, the license plate was Sportsman's Paradise. I had no problem with that. And then we went to Wakulla County as a nice place to live. I'm all for that. I share the waters with the teenagers in the kayaks, the bikers on the bike trail, and I want to be an inclusive county. So what are we going to do? We're going to put Wakulla County Firearm Sanctuary. It don't mix. I do not like this resolution. I think it's wrong, and this is not the Wakulla County reputation that I want to believe. I'm not fearful of losing my Second Amendment rights. I'm more fearful of the attacks on the voters' registration and voting. Our guns are not under attack. They weren't under Obama. They weren't under Bush. Nobody's going to take the magazines. I don't know why in the world you'd want to have a magazine. You don't hunt deer with more than 5 rounds. I'm telling you, your arguments for this resolution does not sit right with me. And I'm telling you, this is not the way Wakulla County wants to go. And I vote.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chapman.
I'm watching you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Jay Wiggins. Always do something.
I'm Jay Wiggins, 261 Old Magnolia Road, and that's way over on the east end of the county. We got no cable. I got too many trees for satellite, got no antenna, so I have no idea what went on 60 Minutes last night. I don't watch TV. I am here to ask commissioners to vote in favor of Mr. Thomas's resolution here this evening. I communicated with all of you last week via email. I got a nice response from Mr. Thomas. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. I got one other response from a commissioner. The meat of it was, since we have already taken an oath to uphold the Constitution, I will be interested to see exactly how this differs. Well, in my opinion, this differs in that now you have an opportunity to come up and retake your oath as as it pertains to a specific area of the Constitution, which is heavily under an inappropriate attack. You have an opportunity now to stand up and reaffirm your oath that you took when you became a commissioner and show that you're at least willing to take a little tiny action, even if it's just a resolution and has no real impact to change the law, that you're at least willing to take that action to support the fact that you took an oath to support the Constitution. And one of the things that we get lost in this day and age is there's arguments everywhere about magazines and concealed carry and self-defense and all, but folks, we need to remember the main reason we have a Second Amendment. It's kind of lost. I haven't heard anything about it in the media until I read your resolution in Marge's column. Whereas the last protectors of the U.S. Constitution are now I can leave out the county sheriff. The county sheriff, he's a constitutional officer. He can make his own decision. And we, the people of the United States of America, and our ability to fulfill that role successfully rests on our Second Amendment rights. Y'all don't need a history lesson to remember that the King of England, when he realized that the colonists wanted to go their own way, first thing he did was try to force colonists to register their guns. Register guns is not a new word. The second thing he did was he tried to start paying colonists for their guns, buying back. Buyback's not a new word, okay? All we have to do is look down to our neighbors to the south, Cuba, right? Fidel Castro, gosh, he could have been a George Washington. There was a cruel, ruthless dictator in his country. He led his people to democracy. He won. But he lied to his people, and how did he enforce that? The very first thing he did was he required the people of Cuba in his first year to register their guns. What did he do with that registration? The second year he went back and he took that list of the people's guns, $10 a piece. I want your gun. He took the people's guns away. By the time the people of Cuba realized they had just traded one nasty dictator for another, all they had to fight with was machetes. And if we think that that's not relevant in our country today, 3 years ago, right after the presidential election, there was a fortunately small, fortunately short-lived, but very, very vocal group that wanted to force out the duly elected president of the United States of America and instill their losing candidate. They called the losing candidate president, but if you do that, it's really a dictator. We got to remember, we got to do everything that we can to support our rights, and I'm asking you to support that this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Jay's a former beekeeper, by the way.
Okay, any further discussion? I have I don't see that this accomplishes anything except reaffirming our oath of office that we're going to support the Constitution. So I will be supporting this. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you for the change, Ralph. That made me feel better.
Yes, sir. No problem.
And County Administrator.
County Attorney.
I don't have anything this evening.
Yes, it's that time of year, Commissioners, for us to reorganize. It's time and I'll hold to select and vote for a chairman and vice chair. I will have anyone want to make a nomination.
Mike, you want to do it?
If you guys see fit for me to do it, I'd be fine to do it.
Okay. I mean, I'd like to keep the chair switching around every year. Ralph did an excellent job. Nothing against you, Ralph. Quincy, do you have any interest in going up?
Fine right here.
All right, I'll nominate Mike chair and Ralph
I'll
vice
second
chair.
I'll second.
Ralph vice chair.
Second.
Vice Chair, second.
I got a first and a second. Any public, no cards or public want to speak on that? All right, hearing none, heard the vote.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
5-0.
All right. Chairman Stewart and Vice Chair Thomas.
Okay. And
Mike,
we'll-
how many times will this be for you?
I have no idea.
5, 4, 5?
5, I think.
And that's it for the night?
I don't like going to functions, so you can have it.
Well, I'm honored. that-
I'll be chair of the CRTPA tomorrow, though.
I'm honored that you guys asked me to do that, and I'll be glad to serve. Be honored to do that, represent. And while you're at the CRTPA, tell them to hurry up with the 4-lane.
Okay.
Especially the north section.
Especially the north section.
Okay.
Citizens to be heard?
Citizens again? Okay, I think that's it.
It's a discussion by commissioners real quick. Y'all got any discussion items? I'm sorry, Chuck.
I do.
Mr. Chairman.
That's not the chair anymore.
That's
I'm
right.
not the chair anymore.
Well,
We gotta be sworn in.
We'll install you at the next.
By the way, Chuck, I think you did a good job as chairman.
He's still the chair for a few more minutes, so.
Okay.
Chuck was already checking out.
I do. I'd like to talk about the Crawfordville Town Plan.
Okay.
So we've got a workshop proposed on December 3rd. And, you know, I just get the feeling that, you know, it's something that we're going to a workshop, but we've never really discussed it as a board.
No, we haven't.
You know, and out of 5 commissioners, only 2 of you guys have even expressed an interest in even expanding it. And I'm not saying I'm necessarily opposed to it, but we've never had that conversation. And I don't know what Mike feels, and I don't know what Quincy feels, but yet we're going to a workshop. I think we might be pushing this thing too fast. I don't know that anything is driving it, you know, at this particular point. I don't know that we have an applicant that's driving it. And I just get the feeling that we're pushing this thing too fast for no reason. This is not an agenda item. And so, you know, I don't know if we can even deal with this or even at least have a discussion. If I would make a motion, if we could get a 5-0 vote, I'd make a motion, let's just table the whole thing and let's not have the workshop.
I'll second that. And, you know, I don't mind, there's no rush, there's nobody pushing this. And I asked Summer to come up with a whole bunch of information, and I think that'd give her more time to flesh that out. And there's certainly no rush, but it needs to be done eventually. And I had brought this up, I think we need to revise our whole future land use map, but we just can't afford to do that right now.
Well, I think
This is a good next step, and, you know, it's a substitute, but I have no problem putting it off. There's certainly no rush. There's no rush.
And it would require a 5-0 vote if we do that. So if anyone is not interested in that, let me know, and we can bring it back as an agenda item at the next meeting. But I just think that we're ginning staff up for, you know, to prepare for this workshop, and we've never really fleshed it out ourselves.
Well, you know, I don't have a problem with adjusting the town plan, but this, I didn't see it as just a minor adjustment. So this was a major rework, and I think we have a lot more work to do before we do that. So I would agree with that. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
So that
Robert, that took so long.
It's rid of the workshop.
That kills the workshop.
That kills the workshop next week.
And I mean, just one last thing. I'd like to say that, you know, I've been on this board for 7 years now, and I watched for a lot of years before that. And I think we got a good board. We don't always agree, but we got a good board, and we can find some common ground, and we can make things work. Listen to the citizens. I mean, that's what we're here for. And so I appreciate all of you guys, even when I disagree with you.
And we had all 5-0 votes tonight.
All 5 votes. You have anything, Mr. Merritt?
Well, like I said, CRTPA tomorrow, I should be chair. This will be my second time, which is good for Wakulla. I think we never had a chairman on there before, and I'll be chairman. In fact, Dr. V was chair before, and I bet half the meetings I had to act as chairman because he couldn't make it because he's professor at FAMU. So we're represented on there.
I was the first member, and they reluctantly let us in the door up there,
Yeah.
and kind of it started from there. So we gained some ground, and you've done a good job up there, Randy. We appreciate it.
And we're right on the edge now of being one member, one vote. You know, right now we're a weighted vote, but all the CRTPA has agreed we're going to change that, where our representative, in this case is me, will have just as much vote as Kristen Dozier does from Leon County.
And it wasn't that way when we started.
No, it's not that way now, but they've all agreed. They got to get a resolution to all the counties to adopt, so that's coming soon. That's good for all the small counties.
Great for the small counties.
Yeah.
Commissioner Messerschmidt?
Nope.
Nope.
And they had that big hemp summit. Melissa's going to be tomorrow at the meeting. They're going to give an update. Maybe at the next board meeting you can kind of, because I don't want to do it. And apparently it was very, very well attended. I mean, it was 200-something people pre-reserved for it. Kristen Dozier put the whole thing on. It was up there at the Civic Center. They're going to hold another one out, Cottondale or somewhere like that, Mariana, for the farmers. And the thinking is with all the hurricane damage and all the timber destroyed, this may be in the hemp, which just got legalized. It's not, you
People are
can't
very
smoke
high
it,
on that.
but it grows a lot faster than the pine trees. But they just have to get the, what? Say what?
People are very high on that.
Tell Kristen you said that. But this may be a viable substitute for agricultural land that had the timber destroyed.
Yeah, you have to recognize it'll really affect your hunting opportunities, because it won't be the same for hunting as pine lands are. So
Deer can't hide behind them very well.
They'll all be high, so
They can't get out of the way from the bullets, so they won't run. They just stand there eating.
they'll be hungry.
Okay. All right.
Chuck, you got, like I said, I thought you've done a good job as chairman. You've been very impartial, and that's what a chairman should be.
So,
Thank you,
well,
Chuck.
thank you.
What's your adjourn?
Good job.
My pleasure. I guess we're adjourned.
Commissioner Merritt, did you watch the yesterday?
I actually watched a little bit of that, too.
That's why you watched